It's the Security Weekly News. It's episode 415, and it is Friday, the 20th of September. Shroombots, pagers, Tor, Raptor Train, GRU, Blue Light, Aaran Leyland, and more on this edition of the Security Weekly News.
This is a Security Weekly production for security professionals by security professionals. Please visit securityweekly.com/subscribe to subscribe to all the shows on our network.
We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
It's the show that keeps you up to date on the latest security news twice a week. Your trusted source for accurate security information and expert analysis. It's time for the Security Weekly News. In 2024, the future of identity, security, and digital transformation converges at Octane, hosted by Okta. On October 15th through 17th, join the brightest minds in tech and business in Las Vegas or online as they explore groundbreaking innovations and unveil the latest Okta solutions to keep your organization secure, connected, and ahead of the curve. Whether you're a developer, an IT or security leader, or a visionary, Octane is your gateway to transforming tomorrow today. Security Weekly listeners only need to pay $100 for your full conference pass for Octane by using the discount code OKTNSC24 at securityweekly.com/Octane2024. And you can stream the event live on okta.com/Octane. ThreatLocker implements a least privileged approach to cybersecurity, blocking every executable unless specifically authorized by your team. This methodology mitigates ransomware, supply chain attacks, zero-day exploits, and ensures 24/7, 365.25 protection for your organization. To learn more about how ThreatLocker can help prevent known and unknown threats in your digital environment, safeguard your data and operations from threat actors, and align your organization with respected compliance frameworks, visit securityweekly.com/ThreatLocker. All right, from the island of Elba, it's the Security Weekly News. I'm Doug White. Hit that like and subscribe button and leave a comment, or September won't really end, and you won't get waked up at all. Dated Music Reference Weekly? Could be. I don't know. If you didn't get that, well, you know how it is. Well, I have to talk about this. At least 32 people, including 2 children, have died, and thousands of people were injured by exploding communications devices. I'm sure you've seen this story. It was a major headline on every outlet possible. I don't want to talk about politics, so I won't. But walkie-talkies and pagers killed quite a number of people. Basically, what happened was incoming messages came to the pagers and walkie-talkies, and that somehow triggered explosives inside the devices. Yeah, some James Bond stuff right there. The devices bore the brand name ICOM, which is a Japanese company, and they said the device described was ICV82 model that had been exported to the Middle East between 2004 and 2014 and has not been shipped since then. The company in Japan said production of the model actually stopped 10 years ago, but it's unclear if these were actual devices that were ICOM or if they were just, knockoffs. The company said they may have been handled by a distributor, and they're not even sure what actually exploded. Now, reports said they were knockoffs and that they were counterfeits and that there were all kinds of other ones possibly involved. A Lebanese security official told Reuters that around 5,000 pagers were brought into Lebanon 5 months ago. Other labels that were seen on the pagers that were reported was one called Rugged Pager AR924 that was manufactured by Gold Apollo, which is a Taiwanese company. Gold Apollo also denied any involvement in explosions, as you might expect. I mean, when a reporter calls you, did you put explosives in these devices? I mean, even if you did it, are you going to say it? I don't think they did it either. Gold Apollo said they had licensed a Hungarian-based company to manufacture devices as well with the same name on them. And when they contact that company, their response was, we know nothing. Gold Apollo basically said the money transfers from the Hungarian company were very strange, quote, but who knows? And that company was called BAC or BAC. I don't know if it's an acronym or what, but they said they didn't know anything about it either. Now, like I said, I'm not going to talk about politics, and I know the politics of this is important. I really do, but I'll just leave that to political podcasts to talk about because I don't want to get into it. But in our case, I think for all of us as CISOs and others, it's probably time for you to review that supply chain. And what have you got? And start identifying key products. Because if somebody can do this, they could do it to you. I mean, maybe not a pager that you don't carry, you haven't carried since the 1990s, but maybe a controller or something else. And we may have to think about how do we assess these physical things? What kind of things could explode? How much explosive might it take to make these dysfunctional? And maybe start worrying about it a little more, because I think it can certainly be used on infrastructure and other ways to disrupt things, as we'll see in another story. Tor, well, Tor, right? Tor is trying to convince all of us paranoid types that their network is indeed still anonymous. And they may have convinced me. A recent report said that German law enforcement and other countries were working to de-anonymize users. And I think a better word is reveal, but de-anonymize is a nice, that's a good word for Wordle, or actually it wouldn't fit in Wordle, right? Wordle's only like 5 letters. A good word for the New York Times crossword puzzle. But Tor, and if you're not familiar with Tor, they make a supposedly private web browser and a supposedly anonymous network path. So you can look at the dark web, you can look at your cousin's wedding photos anonymously. Now, it uses this old thing that I call Mixmaster, because this was a really old network that was around back in the 80s and 90s that people used to route email through, that just bounced email off an endless stream of servers. So it was really, really hard to tell where the email actually came from. And, you've seen that on all kinds of things as well. But basically, this is how Tor works. They use private nodes as well as their nodes. You can put up nodes, and these nodes are then used to bounce packets all around the network, so that it's very, very difficult to trace where it came from. Tor gets used by privacy advocates, journalists, especially journalists in hostile countries, freedom fighters, rebels, criminals, anybody who doesn't want to be traced on the internet. I use it to look at the news so they can't see what ads I click. But, the Chaos Computer Club at the German portal Panorama said that court documents that they revealed that law enforcement was using a timing analysis attack with Tor nodes that the police put up to identify and arrest the operators of something awful called Boys Town. And if you don't know what Boys Town is, it's a horrible child abuse website. And I mean, horrible. And so I hope they did indeed arrest the operators of this site and the users of it. But I mean, you get the good with the bad in the privacy world, right? I mean, it's like the ACLU, if you see the first time I saw the ACLU defending the Ku Klux Klan, I was like, okay, no more money from me, folks. But, I talked to them and they were like, well, freedom of speech is freedom of speech, even if it's awful speech. And I want the child abusers arrested, but I'm also a big fan of privacy. So it's complicated. Well, Tor said the attacks occurred. So this was Tor's defense. They said the attacks occurred between 2019 and 2021 that the police were doing, and that due to increases in the total number of nodes and other issues, it's a lot harder to do these timing analysis attacks now. So I don't know. For me, it's fine. I mean, they're still not going to, if the German police figure out that I went and looked at my cousin's wedding photos and I didn't want him to know, then, I don't really care. But everything can be broken. So if you're doing horrible things, maybe you get found out, and maybe you deserve to get found out if you're doing awful things, especially to children and animals. So you get no sympathy from me. Raptor Train is a massive Chinese botnet that had, according to the FBI, infected over 260,000 network devices and is used by the Chinese to target the United States and other countries' critical infrastructure. The botnet has been used to target military, government, higher ed, telco, defense industry stuff, IT sectors. Most of the targets were in the U.S. and Taiwan, but the actual compromised devices are spread all over the world. The botnet is a multi-tiered network with enterprise-grade control systems, so probably better than a lot of the stuff we all get to use. But it can handle multiple servers and huge numbers of infected Soho. And if you don't know what Soho means, because sometimes people write in and say, what is Soho besides a district in London and a district in New York City? Small office, home office. Soho devices and consumer grade devices. I'm not sure what the difference in those two things is, but basically that's who they've been targeting. The botnet has been going after routers, modems, NVRs and DVRs, IP cameras, and NAS servers. The origins of Raptor Train are all the way back in May 2020, but they were not really uncovered or revealed or whatever you want to call it, de-anonymized last year by Black Lotus Labs. The primary payload that they use is a variant of Mirai. And Mirai, of course, is a very common botnet that they use for distributed denial of service attacks. So if you want to do denial of service attacks in the old days, you took your gateway desktop and set it up with a little basic program on it. To do modern distributed denial of service attacks, you need many nodes, and those nodes will have to work in a synchronized fashion, and that is a distributed denial of service, and Mirai is very effective at that. The FBI said that this whole thing was being run by a group called Flax Typhoon, a very unfortunate name, who is operating the botnet, and they work apparently at the direction of the People's Republic of China government. The FBI took control of the botnet's infrastructure, which caused Flax Typhoon to basically lose it. They ran a distributed denial of service against the FBI and then immediately went out starting to try to compromise new devices and re-compromise devices that had already been compromised, that had been compromised by the FBI and then re-compromised by Flax Typhoon. The FBI said that in a MySQL database they recovered in June, more than 1.2 million records of compromised devices were found with 385,000 unique systems in the United States. This article that I attached does contain a list of devices that are known to be targeted, including things like QNAP, TP-Link, MikroTik, D-Link, Panasonic, Axis. If you probably got an Axis camera somewhere, Zixel, you probably have a Zixel camera somewhere too. But all those things include NASs, routers, modems, switches. Oh, I don't think switches are targeted, but routers and modems and all that stuff are on the list. The way they did this was by using 0-day and end-day vulnerabilities because people don't patch their Soho stuff. I mean, that's, they're worse than corporations for not patching because they don't know how to do it. So they buy this, they plug it in and hope that it works until it breaks, and then they get a new one. So check your devices. If you're a home user, you may want to, check them, patch them, be careful who can access them remotely. Private VLANs. Have I said that before? Private VLANs. I've probably said that before a lot. No, I know I have. You're probably tired of me saying it. So speaking of that, according to this report that came out, nearly 2/3 of organizations lack 24/7 cybersecurity coverage due to staffing shortages. Wow. You mean there's a third that actually do? I mean, all the big companies have, SOCs and all these kind of things, but most mid-sized and smaller companies don't have anything. They literally, they just got a guy named Phil. So Trend Micro published this report on a study that was done by Sapio Research. And the sample that they used was 2,600 IT leaders around the world. Now, I don't know what they mean by IT leaders. I don't know if they mean CISOs or CIOs or what, or just some guy named Phil. And I don't know how far they pushed this. Like, were they talking to Sid's Car Wash and fast food, Clam Shack, or were they talking just to Fortune 500s or what? I'm sure it's in the report, but I didn't have a copy of that. 48% of the respondents said the leaders in their organizations did not consider cybersecurity to be their responsibility. Imagine that. The old "just tell me when it's done" CEO model. As the attack surface grows, the mesh of devices grows. All that, which makes the attack surface, of course, grow even more. Then the AI mesh of devices reaches the singularity, and then blammo! That's it. Just white static, and yeah. And of course, that's when the chuds and the terminators come, and the terminator chuds, and yeah, all those things. But that one guy that they assigned to cyber down in the basement that's responsible for the entire town, police, fire, all the schools, is willing to have to change the printer toners and the paper towel rolls at the middle school every Tuesday. And if you think I'm making that up, I'm not, because I've seen that before. It's like one person that was assigned to this, but only 34% of the respondents said their organizations were planning to follow regulatory or other frameworks. And I mean, that doesn't shock me a bit. When we first started doing Sarbanes audits, most people were like, we're only doing this because the law says we have to. We hate it, and we're not going to do any more than we have to. What's the bare minimum we can get away with? That was the question that was asked. So only 35% of the respondents said they had a sufficient attack surface management techniques to measure even the risk of their attack surface. So, like when Miss Grace, the kindergarten teacher, is also responsible for the Cisco ASA setup because she had an iPad and got the assignment and has to defend against the People's Republic of China, that kind of thing. I mean, and I'm not making that one up either. I really saw that once in a school district. It was like this English teacher, and that person got assigned to manage all the network and firewall stuff for the whole school district because they had a computer at home that they told somebody about. I mean, I don't even think this report is going to scratch the surface of this problem, since so many organizations probably didn't have a person to send the survey in at all or didn't reply. They just threw it in the trash. I know you've seen it. I've seen it. We've all seen it. That company that puts the Twinkies in the vending machine, yeah, they got a 24/7 cyber on their network. You bet. Sure they do. But now, their machines are in your network, and you did put that all in the private VLAN, right? I hope you did, but maybe you didn't. Okay. In that same light, and this was sort of back to the pager story again, even as we are all pretty unprepared in general, the Russian special forces are moving more overtly into online operations. More overtly? Like, weren't they already? But what I think they meant, I think they're focusing more on physical sabotage or kinetic warfare using technology. Can you say Stuxnet, PagerNet, or whatever we're going to call this mess in Lebanon? Well, Unit 29155 of the GRU, and that's Russian military, has been targeting critical infrastructure, looking for open internet ports and vulnerabilities. Imagine that. And some of you have them. And you don't even know it. Well, U.S. officials have said that Moscow may be plotting to sabotage submarine cables via a group called GUGI, which stands for the General Staff Main Directorate for Deep Sea Research. Now, sounds better in the original Russian. But on Friday, the U.S. State Department said that Moscow had embedded a unit with cyber operational capabilities within the state-funded news agency RT since 2023. And of course they have. I mean, RT Media has been funneling money to trolls via Tenet Media in Tennessee. I mean, that just came out last week. So groups like Fancy Bear, manipulating U.S. elections, and Sandworm attacking infrastructure are all heavily funded by GRU and well funded. But now the military, meaning kinetic military, and kinetic's the term they use to talk about, the pew pew kind of thing, but they're involved. They don't just put Doug ist eine teletubische Zurückwinkel on your website or call you a Kotzbroken or something on the Discord channel. They put little dabs of C4 in your coffee maker and set it off when you decide to get an espresso. Kinetic. Yeah, so be ready for escalation, and maybe escalation of this sort. I talked about this 20 years ago about supply chain interruption and supply chain attacks that included both physical. I didn't think about putting bombs in things, but I thought about if you built things into chips that could cause the whole thing to shut down, it would really be a drag if your F-16 fighter's radar suddenly quit right in the middle of a war. But lock down those ports. They're looking for them. And if you got them, they're going to find them. They got the resources, private VLANs for your vending machines and printers and all that kind of stuff. Patch, monitor, be vigilant. I'm going to go into the server room here for a second and beat my QNAP NAS to death just because it's been making a noise. Be right back. Okay. Well, this is an interesting headline to me I saw. It says AWS claims customers are packing bags and heading back on-prem in the UK. Now, I've lived through every iteration of all this. Big iron, centralized computing, decentralization to the user desktop, user-oriented, isolated PCs and printers on every single desk in the building, moving that back to network and network printers and network storage and NAS and all that client server, on-prem clouds, and then off-prem clouds. And I could see it going back the other way. I mean, it's always been cyclical like that. I mean, whatever you have, you hate, and you want something else. That's the grass is greener thing, right? It's like, oh, we have, a big mainframe. We want desktop computers. Oh my God, we have desktop computers. What a disaster. We want mainframe back. I mean, marketing tells us get rid of your servers and use ours. They're scalable, cheaper, no HVAC and all. You'll save money. But then you get the bill and go, are we really saving money? And we can't really control it. And who had access to those servers in that dark data center down in Costa Rica anyway? I don't know. I like my mainframe. I ruled with an iron fist and an iron glove covered in broken glass. It was kind of nice, unless you crossed me, and then it wasn't so nice for you. But, when I had on-prem servers, up until like 2 years ago, we had massive amount of on-prem server stuff I was supporting for my cybersecurity program until they decided to get rid of it. And, I had it under my control. I don't like you. Partition wipes happen. Virtual machines disappear. I always thought the Bastard Operator from Hell series was based on me, but maybe not. But this whole article was based on UK services market, but it affects everyone. AWS was kind of being accused of, like, once they got hold of you, not letting you go. Imagine that. Now, they denied it, of course. AWS was like, oh, of course not. We encourage, customers use multiple clouds. Of course they say that, but you know how that works. But anyway, time will out, as they say. But in my long view, it seems to just sort of cycle back and forth. So, maybe we're going to go back on-prem now. Save money, go on-prem with our hardware. Except 70s fashions. Those never come back. I have like a whole box of like ties that are like lime green and orange that are 15 centimeters wide that belong to my dad, and like, polyester suits with like giant lapels and all that. Yeah, those aren't coming back. I should give those things away or make cat beds out of them or something. All right. Now, I've been looking at screens for a long time. Since that VT100 terminal, all the way up through my 6 giant monitors, my 4-centimeter flip phone screen, that 15-inch laptop, the 12-inch laptop, the 17-inch laptop, the 21-inch laptop. I've stared at them all under the baleful glare of fluorescent lighting, candlelight, total darkness, the glow of glow sticks, televisions. My family had an RCA color TV, first in the neighborhood. Yep. My mother said we'd burn our eyes out if we sat too close due to radiation. I don't know how much close too close was, but now I do have to wear glasses. Is it due to the screens? Marketers tell you it is. They say you need blue light filters to save your eyes from being destroyed by screens. Now, the optometrist that I go to, they offer blue light blocking coatings on your glasses for $19.99 additional or something like that. Maybe it was $50. I don't know. It was really expensive. But and there is a thing called computer vision syndrome that means your eyes get damaged by screens. But according to this report, blue light is really a minor factor in all this. They said lighting, distance to the screen, lighting like sunlight shining on the screen, that kind of stuff, forgetting to blink was a biggie. All those are bigger factors than according to actual doctors. Blue light protection won't hurt, they said, but it probably won't help much. And the study said there was very little difference between blue light filters and placebos. The experts said one of the biggest issues that you face is not blinking enough. They said normal eye blinks are about 15 times per minute, but when you're looking at screens, it drops to about 6. Yeah. They also said you hold your screens too close to your face, like this, and don't blink for a long time. They said 3 feet away from your eyes at a downward angle of 10 degrees. So if you have a perfect scenario, okay. And that you should basically do 20 minutes of working, 20-second break to look at something 20 feet away. Don't tell me that when I sat there trying to debug that C program for 11 hours. I think I blinked 3 times the whole time. There was dust on my arms, really. That actually happened once. And I couldn't even hold a candle to a couple of other people who were like, I can be 20 hours in a chair. Okay, well, anyway, we're all screwed anyway. The Russians are coming, and the Chinese, and who knows what else. The Iranians, it's all over. All right. Banned from every major music festival for being just too much fun. Please welcome Aaran Leyland. Hi, Aaran.
Do you know once I got put in sort of jail at a music festival? The music festival was called Download. It was during Slipknot. I was a bit inebriated, fell into a TP, sort of lay in the TP for a bit, got put in the recovery area during Slipknot, and then kind of escaped. But that's a long
Well,
story.
if you haven't been in the recovery area, you haven't been to a music festival.
Right. That's obviously this wasn't last week because I'm much more mature. It was like a couple of years ago. Anyway, anybody that Googles when Slipknot last played Download would probably find out that information. Right. Oh, I got told off last week. Somebody was like, "Oh, so you're on Tinder a lot, are you?" After our comments. I was like, "Yeah, I love it. It's my favorite." They're probably listening today as well, so I'm expecting more punches. Okay.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. We know it wasn't true. I use Hinge. Okay. How to detect and stop bot activity. Link in the show notes. Right. This is hilarious. If you could stop bot activity, you'd like bring the internet for a start to a grinding halt. At least Google anyway. And you'd cure half of the internet as well. So you'd probably be a gazillionaire. But anyway, here's how to become a gazillionaire. Bad bot traffic has been increasing steadily, making up nearly a third of all internet traffic in 2023. These malicious bots can access sensitive data, commit fraud, steal proprietary information, and degrade site performance. All the cool stuff. And in my experience, normally deploy some crypto miners in your AWS. With new technologies, fraudsters can strike faster and cause more damage. Such large-scale, indiscriminate attacks pose significant risks to businesses of all sizes across various industries. Okay, so for normal bot detection, because there's abnormal bot detection or something like that, can't remember what I called it, there are strategies your business can implement. I just had a Teams message in the bottom right-hand corner of my work laptop going, "We are in the pub." You should have come. I'm not. Okay, there are strategies in your business can implement to combat this malicious activity. By employing advanced multi-layer techniques, you can identify who or what is visiting your website and restrict access to unwanted visitors. Okay. While there is no one-size-fits-all solution, combining these approaches will help you to robust defense against bots. Defense against bots. Okay, so here are techniques to detect bots. As I alluded to before, while not all bots are malicious, even good bots, which it says, like search engine crawlers, are they good bots? Google is not good. Google is evil. Is it? Can hinder performance and skew analytics. Gaining visitor insight is crucial for managing all threat types and generating accurate visitor analytics. So the article tells us the traditional red flags, like on Hinge and the other one, Tinder, red flags everywhere. To identify bot activity, companies have traditionally relied on indicators such as traffic spikes, high bounce rates, short sessions, strange conversation patterns, and impossible analytics, billions of page views. Unfortunately, by the time these signs are noticeable, the damage is often already done. Advanced bots may not trigger these alarms, but because many detection tools struggle to keep up with evolving bot technology. The battle of the bots, the race is on, cat and mouse. Okay, it tells us about advanced bot detection techniques. So that's actually what the article's about. That's what I'm more interested in. That's what I was more interested in. That's why I'm telling you. Turning to more robust techniques that evaluate technical characteristics and behavioral data can help you fend off malicious or uninvited bots. Okay, device characteristics, IP addresses. Specific IP addresses and proxies are known to host bots. A robust detection system should use an updated database of bot-associated IPs, data centers, and malicious proxies. Although bot IPs change frequently, a dynamic block list adds a strong verification signal. Okay, then we have hardware and software configurations. Analyzing device or browser characteristics and settings can uncover suspicious visitors. Sites can examine attributes like screen dimensions, OS, storage, memory, processors, and graphic rendering capabilities. Browser-related factors include how a client executes JavaScript, renders pages, and handles inactive tasks. Significant deviations from expected behavior are strong indicators of bot activity. Inconsistencies between reported attributes, such as mismatched time zones and IP addresses, also suggest potential manipulation. Then there's leaked data. Bots leak data the human users don't. That's so funny. Such as errors, network overrides, and API changes. Identifying this information allows websites to block unwanted visitors. And then we have my favorite, device fingerprinting. Device fingerprinting uses device and browser attributes to create a unique identifier, revealing inconsistencies and unusual configurations that could signal bot activity. To avoid detection, bots would need to create a different and realistic device fingerprint for each visit. Okay, the article talks about authentication and verification techniques, and this is something that drives me insane on the regular. Captures and challenge response tests. I am like so much a bot, I can't see them. It's like, oh, if you click on these three things that are the street lamps or the traffic lights or something like that, but it's actually over 7, and it drives me insane. I'm like, but it's over 7 and I know you only want 3 or 4. Okay, these tests are long-standing strategy against bots, but have outlived their usefulness. Studies show robots are often better than humans at solving these problems, definitely when it's me. While challenge response tests can be more secure, they still create fiction for real users. Me. If used, they should be supplemented with additional security measures like risk-based authentication. Multi-factor authentication. Do I need to say more? Let's get into that. It's really cool. Behavior analysts and analysis, love this. And this will have saved our bacon many, many times in many, many cyber type products. A site's visitors' behavior proves insight into its legitimacy. Automated programs can act differently than real people. Key indicators include, and this is cool stuff, page interactions, mouth movements, scrolling cadence, and page element engagements. Humans perform these actions intermittently and randomly, while bots are systematic and consistent. Rapid scrolling, clicking, and login attempts signal potential bot activity. Also, navigation, user movement between pages and time spent on each page. Bots quickly move through pages following predictable URL patterns. Humans spend longer on each page and navigate more randomly. Okay, form completion. Bots can fill out multiple instantaneously, repetitively, predictably, nonsensical information. Humans stop and fix typos, apart from me, and stuff like that, and skip optional fields. Evaluating behavior manually is slow, prone to error, and resource intensive. Real-time bot detection requires data collection and analysis tools, some machine learning, continuous learning, adapting to bot-like behavior, and also one of my favorite things, honeypots. Set up some honeypots, have them dive in, use that information. It's all really cool, isn't it? So everything multi-layered approach. Don't rely on single approaches. It's inadequate. We don't want to impact legitimate users. Stay away from the captures. And do some fingerprinting. And when you assess device attributes and user behavior together, suspicious user detection becomes more accurate. Isn't that cool? That's what it's meant to happen. Don't rely on the outdated stuff. Use technology and just mitigate stuff. So there you go. Back to my favorite Pope, Dr. Pope, Doug White. Peace out, party people.
Thank you, Aaron. And just for all of Aaron's fans out there, everything I do about my co-host is I usually make it all up. So I don't think I've ever said anything true about any of my co-hosts. And I think Jason almost lost his job one time because I introduced him as coming back from the Naked Olympics or something. And, he was like, people at work didn't appreciate that. And I was like, oh, yeah, that whole thing about, that crotchless Uncle Sam costume you had at the annual Founders Day parade. Yeah, that kind of stuff. So, yeah, don't take it all with a grain of salt. Don't hold Aaron responsible for what I said. You can hold him responsible for what he did, but I'll leave that to you to uncover. Or maybe don't look too hard. Thank you, Aaron. In the category of what could go wrong, robots controlled by fungi. Yeah, you heard that correctly. I had to read it twice. Shroombots. I read it twice and then I read it some more and was like, did I get a bad batch of cognac last night or something? You know, like that old cartoon where you look at the bottle and then maybe pour it out. Yeah. So these scientists were trying, they said plants and things could, actually interact. And they were trying to interface fungi with robots. So they cultured mycelium, which is a fungi, and they grew it into a lattice for the electrodes for a robot. And after 14 to 33 days, they recorded all the electrical activity of the mushroom, and then they analyzed the results. And they hooked the mushrooms to two different kinds of robots and got the fungi to drive the robots to or away from a UV light source. That New York Post headline that said fungi AI robots attack commie pukes in Central Park. Yeah, that could be real at last. Day of the Triffids. Yeah, Day of the Triffids for sure. It's an interesting story. But if you're gonna watch Day of the Triffids, watch the original. Don't watch the remake. The original is the classic. I mean, not to be missed. All right, and that is the news. Thank you, Aaron, and I will see you next time on the Security Weekly News.